Hi, in today's video, we're going to discuss a new story from the Associated Press, and it's titled State Medicaid Offices Target Dead People's Homes to Recoup Their Healthcare Costs. We've got the article here, and we're going to go through it in a moment. However, before we do, my name is Chuck Roulette. I'm an attorney licensed to practice law in Florida as well as in Minnesota. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and bell notification so you'll be alerted when I post additional videos completely free. And if you have additional questions on how to protect your home and life savings from long-term care and nursing home costs, questions on wills, trusts, healthcare directives, powers of attorney, post it in the comments below. I may answer it in an upcoming video. And if you stay till the end, I'm going to share with you a couple of additional resources where you can go to learn more about how you can protect your home and life savings from long-term care costs and from nursing home costs. So without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, we've got the article here up so you can take a peek at it. And again, this is from the Associated Press from March 17th. And we're just going to read through the article here. Now, as Salvatore Legrand fought cancer and all the pain that came with it, his daughters had promised to keep him in the white pitched roof house he had worked so hard to buy all those decades before. So Sandy Legrand thought it was a mistake when a year after her father's death, the state of Massachusetts billed her $177,000 for her father's Medicaid expenses and threatened to sue for his home if she didn't pay up quickly. The home was everything to her father, said Legrand, 57, but the bill and accompanying threat wasn't a mistake. Rather, it was part of a routine process the federal government requires of every state, and that's to recover money from the assets of dead people who, in their final years, relied on Medicaid, the taxpayer-funded health insurance for the poorest Americans. Now, the way Medicaid works is it's a partnership between the states and the federal government. If the states go into partnership with the feds, not all, but most have, then the federal government picks up to 60% of the state's Medicaid costs. And Medicaid has now become the number one way that the average middle-class family is covering long-term care costs. Now, that being said, federal law says you need to spend your assets down. Now, generally, a house is exempt from that spend down in order to qualify for benefits. But this is the part that a lot of people are not aware of, is that the government views Medicaid as a loan. So when you pass away, the federal government requires the states to try to recover against remaining assets to reimburse the government for funds they paid. And those assets can include a person's home. So let's get back into the article. A person's home is typically exempt from qualifying for Medicaid. We just touched on that. But it's subject to, again, what we refer to as the state recovery process for those who were over 55 and use Medicaid to pay for long-term care, such as a nursing home stay or in-home health care. This month, a Democratic lawmaker proposed scuttling what she termed the cruel program altogether. Critics argue the program collects too little, roughly 1%, of the more than $150 billion Medicaid spends yearly on long-term care. They also say many states fail to warn people who sign up for Medicaid that big bills and claims to their property might await their families once they die. Legrand says that how she's ended up in a 2-year battle with Massachusetts after her father died. Now, again, this is what we see pretty commonly. As several years before he died in 2016, she had turned to a local nonprofit for advice for caring for her elderly father. The group suggested that she sign him up for Medicaid. She even remembers asking about the house, but was told the house would only, or the state would only seek the house if it sent her father to a nursing home. Not quite right. He never would have signed on with anything that would put his home in jeopardy, she said. For years, her father got an annual renewal notice from the state's Medicaid office. She says it wasn't until after his death when the state's demand for $177,000 arrived. She says that's when she saw the first bill for his care, which included a brief stint in the hospital for pain from cancer medications and hospice. That's what ripped my guts out, she said. It was dishonest. The state settled with the Legrands in 2019 and released its claim on the house. Now, it's very rare that we see that happen. The article goes on, state policies around this recovery process vary widely, and that's true. According to a 2021 report from the Medicaid and CHIP Payment and Access Commission, which makes policy recommendations to Congress, some states will put a lien, again, a legal right on a home, while others don't. So, for example, in the state of Minnesota, Minnesota will actually place a lien on your home. And then when you pass away, that lien needs to be cleared prior to being able to sell the house. Meanwhile, some Medicaid offices try to recoup all medical costs from patients, like doctor visits or prescriptions, while others just pursue the cost for long-term care. Alaska and Arizona pursued just dozens of property in recent years, while other states go after thousands of homes totaling hundreds of millions of dollars. New York and Ohio topped the country for such collections, recovering more than 100 million combined in a single year, a Dayton Daily News investigation found. An investigation into the Kansas program released Tuesday by Health and Human Services Inspector General found that program was cost effective, yielding 37 million while only spending 5 million to recover the money. But the state didn't always collect the money from estates that were eligible. Last month, a foundation for one of the industry's biggest health insurance giants called on Massachusetts to overhaul its process, which includes collecting reimbursement for most Medicaid costs beyond the federal government's minimum requirement to recover long-term care costs. Blue Cross and Blue Shield Foundation of Massachusetts recommended the state legislature pass a law that would prohibit those additional collections. The article goes on. A state recovery has the potential to perpetuate wealth disparities in intergenerational poverty, said Catherine Howitt, a Medicaid policy director with the foundation. Then it goes on to talk about Tennessee. In Tennessee, which recovered more than $38.2 million from more than 8,100 estates last year, Imani Felmi, apologize if I pronounced it incorrectly, found herself in a similar predicament after her mother's passing in 2021. As her mother's early onset Alzheimer's worsened, she continued to care for her. But in 2015, when she herself was diagnosed with breast cancer and needed a double mastectomy, she started to look at other options. And again, this is something we see a lot, was, as a parent's health declines, one or more of the children try to step in and provide care, but then eventually either reach a point where, because events going on in their own lives, such as this woman where her own health deteriorated, or where a parent's care just reaches the point where they can no longer provide care for them, that's when they look at nursing home or assisted living. Goes on, she hosted a meeting in her mother's home with the local Medicaid office. The representative told her to drain her mother's bank accounts, money she had poured into assisted living facility payments for her mom, so her mother would qualify for the program. And again, this is another thing not a lot of people are aware of. Before you can qualify for Medicaid, depending on the state you're in, you generally need to be either below $2,000 or $3,000 of assets. So you basically have to spend your own assets down first. That's known as a state spend down. So you need to spend your own assets down first before you can qualify. And then, as we've touched on, then after you pass away, then the state recovers against the balance of the assets. Go ahead, continuing with the article. She recalls being somewhat offended during the meeting after the representative asked her 3 times, "Is this your mother's home?" The representative, she said, made no mention that she could be forced to sell the house to settle her mother's bill with Medicaid once she passed away. Now, Tennessee's Medicaid office says she owes $225,000, and the state is seeking a court order that would require her to sell the house to pay up. Now 42, she said she wants to pay what she can, but the house is a particular pain point for her. Her mother, a Black woman, purchased her dream home in Knoxville after she won a landmark discrimination lawsuit against her former employer, Boeing, for paying her less than her male coworkers. Quote, "She fought hard for equal pay and equal rights. Just to see that ripped away just because she was sick and I was sick is just absolutely devastating," she said of her mother. TennCare, Tennessee's Medicaid office, said in an email to the Associated Press that it would not comment on specific cases. The Medicaid and CHIP Payment and Access Commission's report recommended that Congress reverse the 1993 law that requires states to recover money from estates, instead making it optional. Earlier this month, Democratic Rep. Jan Schakowsky of Illinois reintroduced legislation that would end the federal government's mandate. She believes the rule is a losing proposition for families who give up their homes and for taxpayers who don't see big returns from their recovery efforts. She says, "It's one of the most cruel, ineffective programs that we see," she told the AP. "This is a program that just doesn't work for everybody." Article goes on and says, in a gridlock Congress where some Republicans want to trim Medicaid entitlements, the bill is unlikely to gather the bipartisan support needed to become law. There's at least one person, the article says, who acknowledges the rule isn't working, and that's the man who actually engineered it. Many people don't know about the decades-old mandate, which was intended to encourage people to save for long-term care or risk the equity from their home, explained Stephen Moses, who now works for the Paragon Health Institute. Quote, the plan here was to ensure that people who need long-term care can get it, but that you plan ahead to be able to pay privately so you don't end up on the public health care program, Moses said. Now, that was the plan, but here's another thing that the article doesn't discuss, nor does Moses recognize, is that the costs have become so high and the need so great that the average middle-class family simply can't afford to cover these costs, okay? And next, I want to share with you some information here. As a result of living longer, more people than ever end up needing some form of long-term care or nursing home as a result of age-related illnesses. Now, here's some statistics for you. Every day until 2030, 10,000 baby boomers will turn 65, and 72% of them are going to require some sort of long-term care, okay? In a study done by the Nonpartisan and Objective Research Organization, NORC, at the University of Chicago, this was originally done in 2009 and then updated again in 2022, confirms the growing need for long-term care. Now, wait until you see these statistics. According to that study, in 2033, there will be 16 million middle-income seniors, and 11 million of them over the age of 75. And the study notes that roughly 9.5 million will be unmarried, widowed, or divorced. 4 in 10 or 40% will not have family members living nearby to offer care or support. Over age 75, 54% of them will have 3 or more chronic health conditions. 56% will have mobility limitations, and 31% will have cognitive impairments. And the study sums up in noting that even after selling their homes, seniors will struggle to pay for assisted living or are going to require additional help from family members. So that's the reality, is that the average middle-class family is unlikely to be able to cover these costs, even if they have saved, as Moses intended when this program was actually initially put in place. So again, what a lot of people don't know is you generally have to spend your own assets down first before you can get benefits. And then even after you receive benefits, then the government wants to recover against the balance of those assets after you pass away to recover the value of the benefits paid. Now, here's what a lot of people don't know. The federal government also allows you to use very specific planning strategy to shield your assets from the spend down and from recovery when you pass away. And so not only do a lot of people not know about this, but a lot of people think, well, this can't be legal, right? Actually, it is. It's baked right into the law. And in fact, just like you can do planning to minimize the estate tax, with proper planning, you can protect your assets from spend down and from estate recovery. So in other words, you can get the care that you or a loved one needs without depleting your life savings. And I would say it's one of the largest tax benefits built into the law for average middle-class families. So if you would like to learn more about how you can protect your home and life savings from long-term care and nursing home costs, I have a couple of resources available for you. I've written a free guide, and there'll be a link in the description below, Save Our Home, How to Protect Your Home from Long-Term Care and Nursing Home Costs. And I'm also hosting a free masterclass where I go into even greater detail on how these programs work. And I reveal the steps and strategies I use with my private clients to help them protect their home and savings from long-term care and nursing home costs. Again, the masterclass is free, and there's a link in the description below. So if you would like to learn more, you can download the free guide, Save Our Home. There's a link in the description below, or make sure you sign up for the free online masterclass. I hope you found this video helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in an upcoming one. Be well.